We can start.
Perfect, perfect. My name is Jiří Borč. Hello, everybody. This is my dear friend and colleague Yalin. Yalin, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi, this is Yalin. I'm original Turkish, have been in Prague 17, 18, almost 20 years. And during the university times, I was a part of ISEC, Global Student Organization. And that's how I know Jiří back in days, maybe 15, 20 years ago. Then I studied economics at that time, and then I did MBA on top of it. And then I came for a ISEC internship in Prague for a media agency. I was working there for 7, 8 years, and then I decided to establish my own company called Yaya Agency.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. I'm very interested. What inspired you actually to start the Yaya Agency? How did it begin, this journey?
Before establishing my own company, I was deeply involved in market expansion and expanding new companies into the new countries. So therefore, I realized that most of the expanding companies into new markets are failing because they don't know the culture, they don't know the business ethics in the new country, they don't know the language, and they usually choose not the right local partners. And on top of it, so they don't have any entity which they can handle the new expansion all in one as a one-stop shopping services. So most of the companies were failing because that they were losing focus. They had to, let's say, talk with the local lawyer, local accountant, local recruitment agency, local real estate agency, local visa agency separately. So therefore, after I had seen this in my previous company while expanding into new countries, then I decided that I think this is a model that I would like to implement, business expansion services, back office services, and then try to provide solutions to the expanding companies from one resource.
This is very interesting. Actually, you have answered my question about significant challenges for expanding into Central and Eastern European market. You have answered that. Thank you very much. That was a good answer. Now I will go a little bit more deeper because you are from Turkey. What do you think about cultural relationship between Central European markets and Turkey? How it's, and even in the Czech Republic and Turkey, Czech Republic and Czech Republic, CEE and Turkey. What do you think about these ties together?
Actually, George, like these ties are depending on very old relationships, I would say. But on the other hand, recently, in the last 100 years, these economies and the countries were not really that much connected with each other. Okay, and because of the historical differences, so Central Eastern European countries, Czechia, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary, they were growing in a different way, and Turkey was growing in a different way, and this was also the effect of the international relations. Turkey was mainly part of the NATO, and because of the Russian dominance back in those years, also I think avoided to have a long-term cultural relationships at that time. So, but however, in the last 10 years, I would say, and especially in the last 5 years, so these cultural ties started growing rapidly. For example, Czechia has been, like Turkey is a very beautiful touristic destination for the Czech citizens to go as a touristic purposes. Okay, and also in terms of the sport activities, so Czechia and Turkey started doing a lot of sports activities, joining to tournaments in the national level and the local level, and doing a lot of sports activities between each other. And on top of it, the Czech culture and the mentality is also growing rapidly in Turkey. However, on the other side, the Turkish series, soap operas are also becoming very popular in Czech Republic as well. So I will say in the last 5-10 years, so these cultural ties are growing rapidly.
For example, 1001 Nights. I love watching by the way.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Turkish soap opera. Anyway, let's go back to the economic trends you see impacting businesses opportunities between Czech Republic and not only Czech Republic, but Central European region and Turkey. What are the economic trends? You partly answered, Yalin, before, but please go a little bit deeper.
Okay. So the partial answer was related with the tourism, like Czech tourists going to Turkey and Turkish tourists coming to Czech Republic. It's growing a lot. Okay. For both of the countries, these two destinations are very attractive. So therefore, all the tourism activities, transportation, flights, Turkish Airlines, these kind of activities are growing rapidly. For example, now you can, from Prague, there are direct flights to Izmir, to Antalya, to Kayseri during the winter time, of course, to Istanbul. So these started in the last, say, 1-2 years, okay? And also the Turkish tourists coming to Czech Republic a lot. Second of all, on top of it, as I told you, the sport activities are growing rapidly. And the third thing is that regarding the cultural impacts, the trade level between the bilateral trade is almost 6 billion euro, okay? And 4 or 5 years ago, this was like 3 billion euro. So it's like doubled in the last 3 years, the bilateral trade between two countries. And with the effect of one of the rising industries is the defense sector and air defense security sector between Czechia and Turkey. With the effect of the Russian and the Ukrainian war, I would say. So the Czech companies started working more closely with the Turkish defense companies and vice versa. So this is the, let's say, latest trends as well. And on the other hand, the automotive and the automotive spare parts are also growing rapidly. For example, during the pandemic times, Skoda, most of the Skoda autos were sold to a Turkish distributor, Yücel Auto, during the pandemic times and starting from the pandemic times. And also, for example, Skoda Transportation did a strategic investment in Turkey. They bought the shares of a bus producer company called Temsa, which is located in Adana, in my home city. So they are focusing on only producing electrical city buses.
And I must say that Adana is, in my eyes, famous not only for the kebab, but also for a beautiful mosque, which is there. I think it's a blue mosque, right? So this is very beautiful place. People, and I visit Turkey, recommend everybody who hasn't yet visited. So thank you very much for sharing. These are very interesting economic trends you are sharing, Yalin. Let's ask about people who are listening. I would like to thank very much everybody who is listening now. If you have any question for Yalin or me, please put under this video, and we will answer every single question in our second episode, or third episode, actually, because we did one podcast together already in the past. And thank you again for listening to us. Yalin, we are approximately in the middle of the questions. Have you any question for me, by the way, or can I proceed?
No, Josh, please feel free.
Okay, so my question about language: how do you struggle with Czech language, and do you find it important to use when you are talking between Turkish and Czech relationships, or is English sufficient for your business? How do you feel it?
It depends on the counterparties. Okay, so if you are working with the traditional sectors, traditional companies in Czechia, between Czechia and Turkey, you have to have Czech language. Only English is not enough. But however, if you are dealing with, let's say, startups or newly established companies, if the founders of these companies are, recent graduates, or mainly they are like young entrepreneurs, then if they can speak English, they would like to show you that they can speak English. So therefore, you can do all your business in English language. However, currently in the 60-70% of the trade being done between Czechia and Turkey, you have to have Czech language. And on the local side, also for the Turkish side, you also have to have a Turkish language as well. So therefore, me personally, I think I'm doing okay in Czech language, but however, it's never enough. So recently, in the last year, I passed the Czech B1 citizenship exam, and recently I also became a Czech citizen. Okay, so therefore, I think compared to average, I think I am doing fine. Okay. But on the other hand, in the Czech language, there's always you need to learn a lot of new things day by day. So therefore, yeah, language is a key thing. In our team here, we all have Czech and Turkish multilingual team. Okay, and this is where I can see the difference that if you know both of the languages, and if you can not be a translator but also a mediator between two sides, so then you have a lot of unique contribution.
Yes, yes, you are right. It's true. Let's continue with the advice. What advice would you give to companies who want to make business between Turkey, Czech Republic, Turkey?
Okay, my first advice will be that both countries are very different each other, and both countries are very different in terms of doing business between each other as well. So how you manage to do, let's say in Turkey, is not the same that how you can do in Czechia, and vice versa. How you can do in Czechia is not the same how you can do in Turkey. Okay. So therefore, you need to understand that there are a lot of differences between two countries. So first you have to acknowledge them, and second of all, you should be able to understand that there are you have to modify yourself, you have to modify your business plan, you have to modify your understanding, your pricing and everything. Yeah. These two, I think, will be my biggest advices for businesses.
Yalin, now I would like to go a little bit personal. What are your future plans for your agency, Yeah Agency? What are the future goals, your future mission, vision, in the terms of growth of services that you are offering?
Yeah. Look, we are a company which is providing professional services. Okay, we are providing services to foreign companies and also for Czech companies who wants to go to Turkey. And in order to deliver better professional services, so we have to focus on two things. First of all, improving the skills of our team. So one of my targets is to improve the skills of my team and also improve the skills and make it more like a written. Yeah. So far, for example, in our company, we have our blue book or blueprints. So, how to do this, why to do this, and these kind of things. So to give more priority to these kind of internal know-how and internal manual developments. That's one thing, because you can be better once you realize, all services, what your clients need. That's one thing. Second of all, so far we have been doing B2B businesses. Okay. So we are focusing on companies which wants to expand into another country. And starting from next year, we will have different projects for the individuals, for entrepreneurs, for freelancers. Okay. And slowly we will be keeping the B2B business line, and plus on top of it, maybe focus on the B2C business line.
Yes, business to customer. I understand. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the next question. By the way, Yalin, be so kind. After this interview, put the contact details. If somebody is interested in doing business with you, they can contact you easily. Put your contact details under this video after this podcast, please. Okay. My next question, we are almost finalizing. Success stories. Do you have any story that you are very proud of, that you have achieved something extraordinary? Can you share with us, please, this achievement?
Yes, sure. Look, we had a long-term project starting from the Czech-Turkish Joint Chamber of Commerce. Okay, so I have been part of this Joint Chamber of Commerce for many years, and the last 2 years I'm the president of the Czech Chamber of Commerce. So we had one Czech company who approached us. It's a Japanese holding invested in Czechia. It's a Czech company. Okay. and half Japanese, half Czech employees. And they were buying some goods from Czechia to from China to Czechia. Okay, and they approached us and they told us, look, we want to find suppliers from Turkey instead of China. So first we did the market research, find the possible producers of their products from Turkey. We got in touch with them, and then we did a business trip to Turkey. We met with the shortlisted producers, so we introduced to them. So they started doing the purchasing from Turkey to Czechia. Okay, so we managed to shift the business from China to Czechia and then to Turkey to Czechia. Okay, and then some years later, they decided that so we want to grow our business in Turkey. So we want to establish our own company and factory in Turkey. Okay. And then we started doing a market research for them to buy some potential similar factories, producers, manufacturers in Turkey. After some processes, okay, we managed to find a factory for them. And so at the end of the project, they bought the factory and they started put the Czech company investing into a factory in Turkey. They started producing their own goods in Turkey and then selling to Czechia and selling to other parts of Europe. So this whole project took around 3-4 years. Okay. And I will say it was like one of the long-term and the biggest projects that we managed between Czechia and Turkey.
Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing. My last question official today is about networking. How important is networking in your line of work, and what strategies do you recommend for building strong connections in foreign markets?
Actually, George, like our main way of getting clients and introducing of our services are just networking. Okay. So we don't do sales, we don't do active sales, we don't send proposals to people that we don't know. Okay. All our clients are coming through our professional networks. So this can be mouth-to-mouth marketing, this can be references from other countries, from our existing clients. And we also, find new employees through our current employees and networking as well.
Yes.
And, me personally, I'm a part of different kind of national, international organizations. So, and also my company as well. So therefore, networking is the way that how we find the people, how we find the clients, and how we find the new connections.
And here I would like to thank not only Isaac for making it possible for us to meet once at a very beautiful conference in Jofín in Prague. So I'm very glad that they made it possible for us to meet each other and to make meaningful connection. My last question for today is impact of technology. What about technology? Is it influencing your line of work? I will give you an example. We are talking about some automation, about AI. What do you think about these means of new technologies in general?
Yes, George. I mean, it's affecting a lot. It's affecting, especially in a good way. Like by the help of the improving technology, we can simplify most of our internal processes. We can modify internal procedures, how to do that. So now what we were doing, let's say 5 years ago, which was taking, let's say, half an hour, 5 hours, now it just takes half an hour. So there are a lot of improvements internally which is happening. But however, on the other end, managing these improvements and learning them and implementing that into your daily life strategies is also a big thing. So in order to do that, as the founder or the CEO of the company, so you have to invest most of your time and energy. First, you have to learn it by yourself, and then you have to try by yourself, and then you have to implement this into your own business development agency. That part is very difficult. I hope in the future time, soon future, there will also be a AI CEO who can do this instead of me.
Yes.